Hello and welcome to a special Q&A recording of Lift Like a Girl, one of the 50 official titles at the 45th Toronto International Film Festival. As part of Share Her Journey, TIFF's commitment to supporting women behind and in front of the camera, we are thrilled to spotlight the incredible films by women at this year's festival, including Lift Like a Girl. My name is Kiva Reardon, and I'm the lead programmer of Contemporary World Cinema, and I'm thrilled to be here with Mayye Zayed. Mayye is a director, cinematographer, editor, and producer from Alexandria, Egypt. She studied telecommunications and electronics engineering at Alexandria University before becoming a Fulbright scholar, studying cinema and media at Wellesley College in Massachusetts and documentary film at MIT. She co-directed and co-wrote The Mice Room and directed the short A Stroll Down Sunflower Lane. Lift Like a Girl is her feature documentary debut. I would also like to thank you, our audiences, for joining us here today. As an organization still impacted by COVID, we need the support of our audiences so that we can continue to present films to future generations. And of course, most importantly, this film is eligible for the People's Choice Award, and you can vote for your favorite films at tiff.net/vote. Mayye, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kiva, for having me.
I have a really silly question, but I realize I have never asked you if you yourself ever did weightlifting.
No, never. I actually have an injury in my neck, so I don't think I'm even allowed to do it. But I think I've after spending all these years with the girls, I think I know the technique.
But I did also read in an interview that you gave that you were really inspired by Nahla Ramadan, Captain Ramadan's daughter. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, actually, back in 2003, when Nahla won the World Championships, I was just a teenager, and like that story of that girl training in the streets of Alexandria with her father was so touching and inspiring that I was following this story in the news everywhere and reading more and more about it. And in a way, like Nahla was my hero because she like inspired me to do the unconventional, things that you wouldn't really grow up believing that you can do them.
And how did you actually end up meeting Zabiba and because there's so many women and girls training at Captain Ramadan's gym. What was that process like?
Well, actually, because the training space where they are trained that we see in the film is in the middle of the streets in front of the harbor. So it's a very busy street. So everybody basically sees them, whenever you're going to work or whatever. And one day, like a friend of mine who's also like the second unit director told me about this place, and I was like, oh, we have to go there. And then I started like meeting with them, with Captain Ramadan and the girls, and I just fell in love with them completely. And this is how it all started.
And was Zebiba someone you had met right away, or was it because she's not, and I don't mean this as an insult, but she's not necessarily the top lifter at the very beginning, which makes her journey so incredible. So what drew you to her as the protagonist for the film?
Well, I mean, at the beginning, I was filming all the girls. I was interested in their stories, but I knew that I wanted to be with one girl. So at the beginning, I was focusing on three girls. Zabiba was one of them, and for some reason, like I felt I could relate more to Zabiba, and she was the girl who was starting the journey. So I felt that okay, it would be nice to follow her from point zero till she makes it or not. But yeah.
And I think you filmed over 4 years, from she's 14 to 18. And the relationships at the gym are so intense, and it's like its own world and ecosystem. So what was it like absorbing into the gym and into that world for so long, and how did you do that?
I mean, when we were going there, we were really a very minimal crew. It was just me and the DP, and sometimes the second unit director So I was also recording sound. So I think after some time, they basically just got used to us, and we became part of this community. That even now, like, I go and visit them without filming, but because I believe that we built strong relationship that I'm really happy with.
And I know you were saying you had a really small crew, and I wanted to talk about the editing process
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
You must have just had so much footage to begin with,
yes,
if we're
that's
filming
true.
for 4 years. And then you worked with Sarah Abdullah, who had also edited Exterior Night, which was at TIFF a few years ago, 2018. So it's sort of nice to have those sort of, common threads. But yeah, can you talk about that editing process and how you even, where you even began with so much footage?
Well, I mean, first of all, this is the first film that I don't edit myself. But I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to do that because it's such, like, because I'm directing it, producing it. So it makes no sense to be also the editor. And I really like Sarah's work, especially in fiction films like Exterior Night. And I kind of knew that I wanted to work with an editor who has good experience in working in narrative films, because I had this idea that I want to build or to edit the film in a way that a narrative film would be edited in. So we basically, we started that by giving her all the footage. And Sarah's based in Cairo, I'm based in Alexandria, and we would meet 5 days or a week every month for a year and a half, basically. And we would spend this week working on the edit. Like, we started by editing scenes, a scene by scene. Like, I started by the scenes that I felt were close to me, and I knew that they were the most important scenes. Like, one of them is we started with this one scene where Sarah edited it in a way and sent it to me that I really I was so amazed. I was so happy that I couldn't believe that she could manage to basically have a whole day of filming into this 3-minute scene, and I just loved it. And this scene made it to the film the way it is. Like, it was never changed afterwards. Like, we worked a lot later on other scenes, but the process was I would go for a week and then come back to Alexandria, and Sarah would work remotely, in Cairo, and then we would meet again, and that helped in me having a fresh eye all the time, just to be able to say if this something is working and this is not. And we kept on working, and at some point we even decided to re-edit the whole film again, and that was
wow.
when and that's where we were attending the documentary lab in Film Independent in LA last year, and we were like, okay, let's re-edit it again. And I think Sarah is really a great editor who always have these ideas, and she's very focused, and she could help a lot when I was drifting away, because as a director, you would want a certain moment or a certain scene, but if it's not helping the whole story, then it had to go. And Sarah was very precise about that.
I imagine that would be so helpful too when you've been so close to the to the protagonist and the story for so long, to have a bit of an outside perspective. And I think it in an interview it said you had about 90 hours of footage. Is that right?
Yeah, I think from 90 to 100. Yeah.
Wow, that's I can't imagine what didn't make it. Sorry, we shouldn't focus on that. But I did also want to ask about getting the film made. Again, in another interview, you were saying you didn't want to, I guess, didn't want to rush, didn't want to, just finish it and have it done. And then you ended up founding your own production company to actually, Clio Media, to actually produce the film, which isn't all that common for I guess maybe first, or maybe it is, I'm not sure, for first time features. But it seems I don't know, it reminded me of Agnes Varda's like setting up her own production company right off the top.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a bit about that as an independent filmmaker and why that was important to you?
Well, for me, like I was a partner in a collective called Rufus Films for 6 years. I worked there from 2013 to 2019, and we made great films together. But I felt that now I think I need to take another step, where I focus on female-driven content production, where I focus on projects with women in front and behind the camera. Because I think that's really needed, and as a woman, I feel that I can relate more to these stories. So I felt that it's better that I have this company who doesn't only like make or produce my own films, but also help other female filmmakers.
Thank you for that. I was also thinking as you were speaking about sort of that creative freedom, and you had said, again, I was reading all these interviews with you to prepare, that you were interested in kind of breaking down that line between documentary and fiction.
Yes.
And you had mentioned that in the editing process as well, you wanted it to feel like a fictional structure.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that and whether you hope to keep pursuing that as well?
Well, I don't know. It's just I think because I'm interested in fiction films as much as I'm interested in documentary films, and I feel that it's the story that decides which way you would make it. So, for example, in Live Like a Girl, I cannot imagine this film as a narrative film because then it would lose a lot of its credibility, and like it's a total different story if you know that this character is fictional. But if you know that she's real and she's there and she's been doing this all the time, as well as Captain Ramadan and the other girls, then it adds another dimension to the whole story. But in terms of style, because I like both, I prefer to make films that are in this gray area, between the two, and even between, and also have some experimental elements, because I feel that this makes me curious to discover more while I'm making this project or any other project. And I feel that this curiosity is what really drives me forward to keep trying different things in each project. But I'm always interested in films that combining all these genres together.
And speaking of real characters, I have to ask if is Zabiba still lifting? Like, what's her where is she right now?
Yeah, she is still lifting. I was visiting her actually, I think 2 weeks ago. She's now trained by Nahla Ramadan, the coach's daughter, former world champion, and yeah, I think she's doing well. Like she's still training.
Yeah, I really wish that everyone could have come here for the the premiere and
me
everything.
too.
I know. Yeah, and I'm sorry that this is sort of the best we can do in these COVID circumstances. But I want to thank you so much for sharing the film with us and our audiences. Yeah, and maybe it'll inspire some people to start lifting.
Yeah, I hope so. Or actually inspire people to do whatever they want to do, no matter what.
You're right. Yeah, I was saying that to somebody that it's not, even if you have no idea what weightlifting is, there's the level of perseverance and growth that's captured in this film. Resonates whether or not you're a weightlifter or not. So yeah, thank you so much for making this film and again for sharing.
Thank you, Kiva.
Thank you.